So I'm going to talk today about delightful remarketing. Now, remarketing is about convincing past customers to come to your website and make a purchase who may not have made a purchase in the past. And you usually do this by serving them an ad when they're browsing the web or they're on Facebook. And the challenge is when I talk to people about remarketing, I usually get this reaction. A lot of people find it weird and creepy and annoying, and they don't know why they're seeing that ad, let alone how to make that ad stop. And that shouldn't be the case, because delightful remarketing can help grow the revenue and profit at your company and not annoying your customers at the same time. And that's the point of delightful remarketing. It's about making more money and not annoying your customers. There are 3 key reasons I want to talk about why delightful remarketing is really important, and it really changed how I do what I do at Unbounce and anywhere I've worked, about convincing more people to come back to my website and buy. So first of all, over 60% of people abandon a shopping cart every year. Think about that for a second. That's a lot of people abandoning your website and not coming back and buying. And that shouldn't be the case. You want people to buy on your website, and you want them to come back. And next to email, I feel delightful remarketing is the only other warm lead gen channel that can convince people to come back and buy from you. Now, of those 40% of people who do buy from your website, ironically, only 6% of that is actually representative of e-commerce revenue versus just retail revenue. So that means when a Barnes & Noble or a big business sells a lot of stuff online, it's probably only 6% of their business, which is kind of interesting because over the last 15 years, we went from 40 million people online to 3 billion people online, and that's a lot of people. Now let's look at the next 7 years, because we're going to have another billion people, and then it's a billion with a B, come online, and most of those people are going to be on a mobile device, period. And that's because a lot of people in the BRIC countries can't afford a desktop computer, but they can't afford an Android or an iPhone that is a lot cheaper. So now the question becomes, what is delightful marketing? So I have 3 pillars I look at. The first is message match, and that's the idea that your advertising is going to match your audience. And so instead of having a generic ad that has your brand name, you want an ad that really speaks to these people, to have these people say, hey, I know why I'm seeing that ad because I went to this website. But more importantly, the ad's going to cut through all the noise, the BS, all the other ads they see all day, and want them to come back to your website and buy. The other pillar is context. And I think this is where a lot of people make the mistake online is they think, well, I've got a great ad, I've got a great audience, I don't need to think about context, but you want to think about when you're going to see the ad, how you're going to see the ad, what devices the ads are going to be on, and you want to make sure that it's going to be a great experience for people overall. And then the last point, and this is more of a gut check, is a delightful experience. And you're not going to ask yourself this, you're going to ask the rest of your team, because if you can't convince somebody in CS or someone in engineering that this is going to be a great ad for your customers, maybe you should go back to the drawing board and rethink what you're going to do for your campaign. So how do we create delightful marketing? I want to talk about 3 things today. I want to talk about a B2C commerce company. I want to talk about a B2B business, especially if you work in SaaS. And I also want to talk about AdWords Customizer. So I want to talk about why commerce and a burn pixel equals the A-team. Now, a burn pixel is simply a pixel that fires on your confirmation page that tells a piece of software, add this person to a remarketing list because they bought something. And what I find a lot online is that when I'm traveling, or I'm searching to go travel somewhere, or I'm going to go buy a piece of clothes, I get remarketed to a lot. But even though I may click on that ad and make a purchase, I find that days later, I'm still seeing that same ad. And that's pretty annoying. And the reason I'm seeing that ad is because the marketing team somewhere didn't have a burn pixel file. They didn't say, when this person makes a purchase, put them on a remarketing list and don't show them this ad again. And you don't want to create that. You don't want to annoy your users whatsoever. So when you all go back to your offices later this week or next week, I want you to talk to the person who runs paid search, if that's not you, and say, does a burn pixel fire when someone converts? Always stop showing them ads when we market to them? And if they say no, find out why and stop that, because you don't want to annoy your customers at the end of the day. The other thing I want to talk about is sort of a SaaS business and Intercom. Now, for those who don't know what Intercom is, it's a great piece of software that hooks into either your mobile app or your website, and it tells you what your customers are doing on your app and your website. So it shows what features they're going to use, what features they're not using. It tells you the adoption rate of a feature. Like at Unbounce, we launched a feature a couple weeks ago that was really cool, and we're able to go on the app and see, oh, lots of people like this feature. Oh, lots of people don't like this feature. But the other cool part of Intercom is you can message people on the app and find out why they don't like that feature, and that's really important. So today I want to talk about why that's really important. Because when you go into Intercom, you can go and say, okay, I want to look at people who didn't use a certain feature. And you want to download that list and you want to upload it to, let's say, Facebook or Twitter, and you want to remarket to people and say, hey, you don't use this feature, you want to tell them why that feature is important. You want to either send them to a blog post or send them to a landing page that has a case study or white paper, and really hit home that this feature is going to make their lives easier. It's going to make them more money. It's going to make them feel like a rock star in front of all the people they work with, which is the point of delightful remarketing. You want to make people feel better versions of themselves at the end of the day. After you've done that, of course, you want to make sure you stop remarketing them and stop showing the ad after they converted, because we don't want to have a bad experience. So I want to talk a little bit about AdWords Customizer. And this is kind of a cool feature that Google has, and they don't really, and I don't get why, they don't really promote it all that often. But basically, as you see the red arrow there, it has a little countdown clock to your ad. So let's say you were going to have a sale next weekend and you're going to sell 50% off shoes or 20% off shoes. You can go into AdWords, create an ad, say the sale is going to start on a Friday, end on a Sunday, and it'll add a little countdown clock to your ad, which is really great. And it helps your ad stand out. And the reason I like AdWords Customizer is because it makes your ad stand out, makes it different. But here's the challenge. What if you don't have a sales? What if you're in B2B or you're in high-end luxury goods? What do you do? And I thought, you know, this would actually be a great feature if I was going to launch a new product or launch a new service, because I could create a remarketing list based on the people who hit that page. So let's say I was going to launch something related to SSL next week. I could create a campaign in AdWords Customizer. I could buy keywords related to SSL, create ads related to SSL, and anyone who clicks on that ad and goes to my landing page or goes to my blog post, I can build a remarketing list off that. And so when the feature actually launches in a week or two, I can remarket these people and say, hey, you were interested in SSL? Why don't you come back and actually either A, upgrade the product if they're a current customer, or B, why don't you sign up and actually use the feature since you thought it was so great? Now, setting up AdWords Customizer isn't the most complicated as it used to be years ago, because if you see the ad here, if you make a face bracket with an equal sign in one of your ads on description line 2, it brings up this handy little tutorial that Google asks, when does your campaign start? When does your campaign end? It also asks, what time zone do you want to use? Do you want to use the time zone of the user? So if you're doing a campaign that's only on the East Coast, maybe you only want to show the ad between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. for when people are at work. Or conversely, you can use the time zone that is in your account. You click save, your campaign launches, and ideally people click on your ad and come back and want to shop with you. So these are what I call the do's of delightful remarketing. These are things I think about irregardless of what campaign I'm working on, what clients I have, what I'm launching, where I am in the world. None of this matters. These are things that really sort of take your campaign from just an okay campaign to an amazingly great campaign. So frequency. Frequency is basically how often you want to show someone an ad. Now, I've seen a lot of brands where I'll see an ad 8 or 9, 10 times in a day, and that's not the most delightful experience because that's just annoying. And I get brand fatigue, and I'm just going to ignore that ad and ignore that brand when I see it. So my general rule is I look at 2 to 3 ads a day for any one brand, because at that point, you've got to remember that remarketing very much is a marathon and not a sprint. And you don't want your customers to get brand fatigue. You don't want your customers to think, oh, this ad again? Why am I seeing this ad again? It's not a great ad. Age. If you're on AdWords or you're running programmatic, or you're on any advertising platform that lets you segment by age, you should totally do it. At my last couple startups, generally between 25-year-old and 44-year-olds were my core demographic for the product I sell. But if you sell to, let's say, babies or parents who have babies, or you sell to senior citizens, obviously your demographics will be a little bit older. But what's great about segmenting by age is you're not going to show your ad to people who potentially won't convert. I know at Unbounce, our general demographic is 25 to 45, and I generally don't show ads to anyone beyond that because those people just don't convert and they don't generally spend money with us. Similar to age is location. Now, location is really interesting because a lot of times with remarketing, people say, let's just still target the whole country. Let's go all out. And that's great in theory, but if your business does really well in, let's say, New York or California, why not just target New York and California? Why target the whole country? It makes no sense whatsoever. Conversely, you can also just look at targeting the top cities where you get most of your business, because I'd rather spend 80% of my time going after 80% of my business, which are in the major markets, than trying to target everywhere in the world. And at the end of the day, risk and game and marketing is like a game of risk, and you want to make sure that you defend your territories, fend off your competition, and use locations to your advantage. So look-back window. Look-back window is basically how long someone's going to be in a remarketing list. Now, generally, a lot of platforms default to 30 days. Twitter does 14, though you can change it to 30 days. And unless you're in a business like insurance, or you're going to sell a car, or your industrial equipment, there's no reason you should have a look-back window that's more than 30 days. Because after 30 days of someone seeing your ads, odds are they're not going to convert if they haven't converted already. Creative. We have a creative team on Unbounce, and we don't always agree on what the creative should be at times. We all agree that we want to make sure we have a delightful experience for the client. And if you're like me, some days you just bang your head against the wall because you don't know what your creative should be. And much like these brands you see on here, they all have great creative. What I found works really well is I'll go talk to my CS team, I'll look into Intercom and see why customers are buying our product, why they're using our product. And if I find those reasons aren't on our homepage and not things we talk about, then maybe that's something I want to put in my remarketing. Because if I come to a website and I think it can do X, Y, and Z, but you don't explicitly say that, I'm probably going to go with the competition because they tell me what I want to hear at the end of the day. So I've got basically a bonus tip I want to give. About a month ago, Google launched remarketing lists for search ads in Google Analytics. Now, for those of you who don't run paid media, remarketing lists for search ads basically takes a search campaign in AdWords, you layer on top of it an audience that has your remarketing list. So maybe you want to look at people who were first-time visitors to your website versus returning visitors. And what's cool about this is instead of, let's say, spending money on bidding on your competitors' terms, which can be really expensive, you took that same campaign for competitive terms and you layered on top of it your marketing list of people who have come to your website for the first time. You'll find that A, you're not going to compete with everyone who's going to want to bid on those terms at google.com. More importantly, you'll find your CPC is a little bit cheaper, and though you won't have tons and tons of click-through rates and impressions, you'll get enough that people will click on your ad to convert at a lower cost, and at the end of the day, I think that's pretty delightful. So there are 5 things I kind of want you to take away from today's talk. 1, make your customers better versions of themselves. Make sure you understand what they want and why they want it, and make sure you explain to them why this feature is really great. 1, make sure you use your creative to your advantage and tell the things that they want to hear in their creative and they understand what your product or service can really do. You also want to obviously make sure burn pixel fires so that when they convert, you don't remarket to them over and over again. You also want to make sure that you check your campaign settings, so whether it's age, location, look back window frequency, and make sure that you're not spending money on areas that don't make sense for your business. And above all, have fun. Remarketing may not be the sexiest part of advertising, but you can make a lot of money from it, and that's pretty delightful. Thank you.
I'm sort of hoping that somebody from Amazon is here right now so that they'd hear this. Be like, please stop following me. Every single thing that I look at. Thank you. So don't forget, if you have questions, to ask it on the MozCon QA. We do have one question that I love that I just lost, of course. So the question was, like, do you ever have a chance to, as a user, to be like, okay, can we stop this? Can I stop seeing this? Is there something from a user side that allows you to make the remarketing stop happening other than clearing your cookies or?
Yeah, so I mean, depending on sort of what platform you're on, a lot of ads will have like it's a little triangle in the upper left or right hand corner. If you hover over that little triangle, it's usually blue. It says ad choice, and you can say whether you like the ad or don't like the ad, or if the ad is relevant. So that can help stop the ad. But there isn't a lot you can necessarily do.
Do you take that into account from the remarketing side? Do you look at how many people are like, oh, I'm sick of seeing this thing?
You know, Jennifer, it's all about the money. If I don't see people converting,
like, whatever.
It's not. It's just not working.
Yeah.
You know, it could be the greatest ad in the world, and you can think you're a genius, but if nobody's buying, how great can it really be?
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It's all about the bottom line.
And what about testing? Do you have certain things that you look at for testing? Like in social, we test a certain way. In SEO, you test a certain way. In CRO, right, you have different testing methodologies. What are some things with remarketing that you do to sort of test, you know, what works better?
Sorry.
Frequencies. Sorry.
No, it's
I'm just going to keep interrupting you as much as I can.
I test ad copy a lot. You know, I've only been in Unbounce for 4 months, so I'm still, you know, learning the customer and who they are and what they are and the different segments. And so sometimes I'll think I'll have an idea for a piece of copy and I'll think it's really great, but at the end of the day, after a week, if nobody's converted, I'll just rip it apart and start from scratch. I'm on a campaign right now where I'm on my 4th revision for ad copy and my 4th landing page. And even though my boss thinks I should give up on it a little bit, I'm like, just give me to the end of July. If I can't convince enough people to convert, then this was just a bad idea and I'll walk away from it. So I generally test ad copy first because you want to be able to get people to click, and then from there I'll get like my landing page and what the offer I have, and then just kind of go from there. And then obviously I'll get age, location, frequency to sort of make sure I'm not spending money in areas I don't want to spend money in.
So did I hear that correctly, that you're sort of like after testing it and trying it out, and you have to be willing to just like give it up and start over, try something totally different?
Yeah, I mean there's only X amount of hours in the week, and sometimes an idea is just not going to work, and that's okay. I mean, if this campaign I have right now doesn't work, I'll try something else, I'll try something new. But you have to be willing to take the risk and put yourself out there, because if you've always done what you've always done, you're always going to get what you always got, and that's probably not the greatest experience in the world.
I like that. Okay, Rich has a good question. What if a high percentage of your audience buy over the phone and you can't use the burn pixel? So what's the best thing that you can do?
I'm kind of curious what business he's in that they all want to call in. If you can't do remarketing, you can't do remarketing. Obviously, let's say 90% of his business was on the phone. That's still 10% of the people you convince to buy, right? So it's not, remarketing isn't about quantity, it's about quality at the end of the day. I want to go after the people that make the most sense and get them to convert versus trying to go after everyone on the internet, because you could have a pissing contest with a bigger company and spend lots of money, but it doesn't mean you're going to necessarily make more money than them.
Makes sense. We have one more here. Do you look at remarketing performance through an attribution model? So
we are struggling slightly with that at Unbounce in the sense that we look at everything just from a last click perspective, because I know if I look at my AdWords and my GA, that 30% of my first click conversions won't convert on a last click in GA, but they'll come through referrals or direct and stuff like that. So sort of beyond the last touch, we're definitely something we want to work at on Unbounce and become better at. But I don't think anyone's cracked that nut, because every business is so unique and every situation is so unique that there's not like a magic wand you can just wave and be like, this is what you do beyond last touch. You know, you've got it all solved now.
I still really want to send you out. There are like 5 different companies that everywhere I go, I see their stuff over and over again. And I'd like to, maybe we can talk after and be like, so for Unbounce, you should go after these people and tell them to stop.
Talk to me. I do it all the time. Like I was on a site the other day and I'm like, this is a bad experience, and I tweeted them. They never got back to me, and I didn't think they would, but I'm just going to tell them anyways, because like, you will be out of business in 7 years potentially if you keep this up.
People used to tell us when we first started with SEO Moz remarketing, they would tell us all the time how sick and tired they were of seeing Rand's face everywhere.
But he's like a mini celebrity, though.
Come on, it's Rand. He's so adorable, right? I just said that. Sorry,
He is
Erica.
fun, though.
Okay, thank you. That's all of our questions for now. Duane, thank you so much for walking us through this. And everybody, let's give Duane a big round of applause.
Thank you, everyone.